So, hello everybody. Good afternoon, or if you're within the same UK time zone, so good evening or good morning, wherever you're joining us from. My name is Mitchell. I'm one of the international officers here at University of Staffordshire, and on the call with me is Anna, and we will be talking to you about studying law at University of Staffordshire. Now, whilst this webinar is going on, it will be recorded for the benefit of people who are unable to join the session, or if you want to look back at a later time. The recording will be available in a few days. So just bear with us now with that. If you have any questions whilst the session goes along, please pop them in the chat box and we can get to them at the end of the session, where we will be having a question and answer session. Well, without any further ado, I'll pass it on to Anna. And if you want to sort of introduce yourself and get on with the session as well, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thanks, Mitchell. So hi, everybody, whether you're joining us live today on the webinar or whether you're catching up with us afterwards, because as Mitchell said, obviously people are in lots of different time zones. So my name is Anna Garland. We're very informal in the law school, so please just think of me as Anna, and if you need to email me anything, it's fine to address me as Anna. I'm the course director for all the undergraduate law courses at University of Staffordshire, and what that means is that I look after the 2, 3 and 4-year LLB courses. We do also have individual course leaders, so whichever course you're joining us on in September, one of the first people that you'll be meeting is your named course leader on that particular course, as well as meeting me and the rest of the team. So today we're going to be looking at your law degree at the University of Staffordshire, how you will learn, how we assess on the law degree, and then we'll be looking at issues such as the kind of support that you can get for your actual academic studies, and how we've built careers and employability into the law degrees and what other support there is available. And then when I've spoken about all those things, I'm going to be handing back to Mitchell, who's going to be telling you a little bit more about the support which is specifically in place for international students. Before we go any further, I'll just mention the fact that I'm actually undertaking research into the experience of international students at UK universities. So it is something as a team that we really care about. We want you to succeed on your courses. We're a very welcoming department, and we have students from all different parts of the UK and all different parts of the world. So we've got students from lots of different African nations, from different countries within the Middle East. We have students from India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and also have quite a few Canadian students as well. So wherever you're joining this from today, you will find that we're a welcoming place on the law degree. So we do have 3 different law degrees at the University of Staffordshire. The standard one is the 3-year LLB, and LLB is the designation specifically for a law degree. You may have seen BAs and BScs, Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and an LLB is a Bachelor of Laws. We also have a 4-year course, which is the same as the 3-year course, but also includes a foundation year at the start. Some people actively opt to join that, perhaps because their qualifications don't quite map to the UK level 3 qualifications needed for access to the 3-year course, or perhaps something hasn't gone quite as you hoped in your final qualifications, and we're able to take people with slightly lower levels of qualification onto the 4-year course. And then some of you might be looking at joining us on the 2-year accelerated course. But it's important to mention that all 3 of them come out with the same degree, that is an LLB. I'm just going to mention about the 2-year course because this is a very popular choice for students from different places around the world. And the difference between the 2 and the 3-year course is in how long it takes you to complete it. On the 2-year course, you are still covering the same number of credits, which is how we make up a degree, 360 credits, but you do it in a shorter time by studying year round. Most students at university will be studying from September to the end of May, beginning of June, and then that's when their final assessments for the year are, and then they have a long holiday over the summer period, coming back in September. But if you're looking to join us on the 2-year, it's important to understand that the reason that we can put it into a 2-year period is because you are studying all year round. Instead of just having September to January and January to May, you have a third semester which runs from the start of June to the end of August. Now, this summer semester looks a little bit different from our normal teaching, which I'm going to come to in a minute, but the summer semester is a period of accelerated learning. It's a couple of weeks of incredibly intensive on-campus learning, followed by a longer period of distance learning, supported both by your tutors and the excellent online resources that you are given as part of your degree package. In the final year, the second year of the 2-year course, you can choose from a range of options. And then in the very final stretches of your degree, which is in semester 3 of the second year, you have a compulsory, a core module, which is a dissertation. As we'll see shortly, dissertation is not a core on any of the other courses, but it really lends itself to that 2-year course where you're working at a much faster pace and you are showing that you can work independently. So having that opportunity to work on your own piece of substantial extended research is a fantastic opportunity. So it's really important to understand that all 3 of the law degrees, whether it's a 2, 3 or 4-year LLB, all allow successful students to proceed to the next stage of training for the legal professions in England and Wales. There are 3 legal professions in England and Wales. You can become a barrister, you can become a solicitor, or you become a Silex lawyer. So we do say that if you complete our degree, you are in a very strong position to going on and doing the next stage of qualifications. But if you want to do an English law degree with the intention of ultimately practicing in a different jurisdiction, it is your responsibility to check what your relevant local professional body requirements are for qualification and practice. And that's especially important because in the last 2 years, there have been massive changes in the qualification frameworks in England and Wales. And therefore, it's really important that you're up to date with what your own jurisdiction or any other international jurisdiction where you wish to practice wants in terms of qualifications. I've just mentioned that all the 3 law degrees do equip you for going on to the next stage of training. And it's really important to understand that a law degree in England and Wales is academic, and there are additional training stages that have to be done postgraduate in order to qualify as a practicing lawyer. So if you're interested in becoming a solicitor in England and Wales, you go on to do the solicitor's qualifying exam, which is known as the SQE. If you want to become a barrister, you go on to do courses which can be called various things like the bar training course or the bar professional course. And if you wish to proceed to the end of qualification on the SILEX, that's the Chartered Institute of Legal Executives qualification framework, you would have to go on to do the advanced and professional stages of that. So whichever route you're taking into qualification in England and Wales, you would need to do further training. But we have made sure that the law degree sets you up really strongly for that. So it meets the requirements of what subjects you need to be able to show a bar training course provider that you have completed in order to be able to go on and train for the bar. And all our core modules in the first couple of years of the course are all aligned to subject content, which is examined on the SQE. The SQE also examines lots of other things, but we've made sure that we've kept those important foundations. And doing one of our LLB law degrees also means that you would be exempted from the foundation stage of SILEX qualifications, which means that with a law degree, you could go straight on to the advanced and professional stage. So although you don't come out with a legal qualification for practice, you do come out with this incredibly strong foundations and framework to go on and practice if that's what you wish to do. So one of the things that you're undoubtedly wondering is, how do you study? Well, studying on our law degrees is made up of what we call modules. They've got different names in different places, so I know that the language courses may be more familiar. We use the word course to mean the whole of your degree programme, and then the individual subjects that you're studying at one particular time, which will have a name and a code. So you might be doing, for example, mine, Laws 51951, which is an evidence module that's currently offered. Actually, you'd be doing a slightly different version, but that module shows that it's a law module, that it's at level 5, and what the subject name is. And that's what we call the modules. So those are the building bricks of your degree. And whichever course you do, you will be doing core modules, which are what we call the foundations of legal knowledge. And these cover a range of subjects, including things like criminal law, contract, property, public law, learning how about the Constitution, about executive and administrative powers, etc. But we also teach on those core modules the key skills for the study of law at university level. So you'll be taught a module called Legal Skills, which actually trains you how to do the research and writing and the essential academic skills of understanding about referencing and citation of sources that you're relying on. And those are an inherent part of the degree. So on the one hand, we're giving you the knowledge, on the other hand, we're giving you the skills. Now, those are core modules for everybody. And then in the final year, for most people, you have complete free choice of what you choose. The exception is if you are on the 2-year course where you have to study a dissertation module. Now, options cover a huge range of sources. We have public law options, private law options, and international law options. For example, we have an international law module, we'll have an international human rights module. Now, options always run subject to a couple of caveats. The first is that there has to be a minimum number of students enrolled on that module for it to run. And what that number is depends on the size of your cohort. So we'll make that decision close to the time. It's very rare that an optional module can't run, but if for any reason it can't, we'll always discuss with you and find an alternative. The other thing is that the optional modules that you can see, and that's just a small selection of the optional modules that we've got as part of the degree. They reflect individual lecturers' expertise. So, for example, I teach the law of evidence module because I was a criminal practitioner, and that's my big passion in life, teaching people how to go into court and prove that things have happened according to the law of evidence. If for any reason I was not teaching that particular year, then that module would not be running. But again, it's very rare that things don't run, and we always make sure that we can find you an alternative that fits in with your academic and your professional interests. There's a huge range, and you're bound to find something that appeals to you. So those are the subjects that we cover, but how do we actually do it? Well, most of the teaching falls into 3 main areas. There's large groups, which are led by your lecturers, your tutors. There's workshops, which are your opportunity to really get stuck in with your learning. They're interactive. You might be doing paired work or group work. And then most of your time on your degree will actually be spent in independent study. And this can be a little bit of a shock coming from school or college, because the focus has very much changed from what happens in the classroom, which is still hugely important, to what you do with that knowledge in your own time and how you actually develop those study skills for yourself. And again, we have so much support available for that. We can give you advice, we give you lots and lots of structured learning materials, we give you suggested topic schedules to cover so that you shouldn't fall behind, and our library skills team is incredibly helpful and can help you with a whole range of study skills. We also have built into every module specific revision and assessment preparation. When we launch our assessments in each module, you'll be given tailored guidance to what we're looking for in that assessment. You'll get a brief, you'll get a lecture, you'll get a recorded lecture, so that you're really clear on what it is that we're looking for. When we're assessing, we're really interested in giving you credit for what you can do. We're not interested in catching you out. And so if you've got any questions about the assessment, we are there. We give you as much support as we possibly can because we want you to show what you've learned, and to meet the learning outcomes, we want you to succeed. So I've mentioned a little bit about assessments, and it's not only exams. We do have some exams, but even the exams look very different. Some exams might be taken in a computer lab because you're taking them online under exam conditions. We have some multiple choice exams, which again will be taken on campus in exam conditions, but you're doing them on screen. We also have a whole range of different types of coursework. Now, of course, essay writing is still really important on a law degree because we have to be able to say at the end of your law degree that you are a skilled and effective writer in the field of law. But we also have a whole range of other types of assessments, and I'm not going to go through all of them, the whole list there, but they are really tailored towards real life, authentic opportunities. So in mooting, you might be actually in one of our mock courts, arguing a legal case and behaving in exactly the way that you would do if you were in the Court of Appeal, presenting a matter on appeal or responding to appeal. There's a lot of advising clients, and while most of that is simulated, so for example, when we advise clients in the property law module or the alternative dispute resolution module, your clients are usually staff members in the university and you are pretending to advise, but we try and make it as realistic as possible. The difference with our legal advice clinic is that you're advising real people. So we've built those advice skills in right from day one through presentations, through advising people in writing, advising them face to face, so that you are really equipped for the essential skills that you need for going on to qualify as a lawyer or for other graduate opportunities with a law degree. Now, I've mentioned the mock courtroom, and they are just a part of the excellent facilities that we have. We have 2 digitally enabled mock courtrooms. The picture you can see there was taken a couple of years ago now, and actually it looks a little bit different now. We've improved some of the furniture so it's a little bit more like it would be in court, but you can see it's a really good representation of what a courtroom actually looks like. That's our larger courtroom. It's the courtroom that we use for our mooting trials and competitions and teaching. We can also do mock trials and advocacy assessments and things like that in there. We also have a much smaller one which we use for assessments and for much smaller learning groups. Both of them are digitally enabled. That means that there is a way of recording all the activity that goes on in the courtroom, which means that we've got records of what people have done, and we can use that as a teaching aid. Now, those are both on the first floor of the building in which the law department sits. On the ground floor, we have access to an incredible immersive suite with observation rooms, and that's used by law, by policing, by forensics, by a whole range of different subjects. And what we've got there is mock-ups of real spaces such as police station cells, prison cell, police station custody desk, a shop, different rooms in houses. And you can imagine how the forensic students would be using them, or the policing students would be using them. But we're able to use them in law as well. There's an office which we're able to use, and then there's also things like a sitting room, and we're able to use that for our mediation sessions. We make it look like a really comfortable mediation room, and we can take advantage of it as well. So it's fantastic that we've got access to all these really good facilities. We've also got a library, which is also on the same site at Stoke, which is where the law team are based, on the same side of the road. In fact, the building is opposite the building where all the law offices are. And as well as a physical library, we also have incredible, extensive electronic resources. These include everything from books to journal articles, and it means that probably 80 to 90% of the resources that you need on your degree are accessible as long as you have access to the internet, and you can access them through your computer. And I should mention, we do recommend that you have a laptop. Whilst everybody has a smartphone, the documents are too long and too involved for you to be able to engage with them properly on a smartphone. So we do recommend that you do have a laptop for your studies. But in addition to that general library set of resources, which, by the way, includes access to the main legal databases like Lexis Library and others, which gives you access to all the relevant statutory provisions and legal cases, the common law framework. One of the things that we do offer you as part of your package, as part of your fees, is access to something called Law Trove. Law Trove is a digital library of law and criminology textbooks. It is offered by the Oxford University Press, and there's approximately 200 books on it there. And wherever possible, we make sure that our core readings for any of the modules are on that Law Trove platform, which means that if you do not wish to, you do not have to buy paper copies of the books. Of course, there are all sorts of reasons why you may wish to. Some people don't want to be tied down to always having an internet access. Some people prefer to have paper copies of books, but we do try to support students in this cost of living crisis so that you have got access to those books as long as you can log on. And then something else that is widely available is private and group study areas. They're mainly in our lovely modern Catalyst building, which has a huge range of different study areas. There are silent study areas on the top floor, and on the ground floor and the next floor up there are a range of different group study areas, including small rooms that you can book with your friends and course mates to work on things together. Not assessments obviously, but if you're just working on materials for your next classes. And they're really modern. They're all digitally enabled, so you can even share your screen with half a dozen people on a screen. We also have a social study space on the ground floor of the building where we are, sometimes used for teaching, but it means that there is somewhere that you can work as a group. And obviously there's places for you to plug your laptops in and things like that. I've already talked a little bit about academic support, but we've got a really great system. You'll get me as your course director. You won't have a huge amount to do with me on a day-to-day basis unless I teach you on one of my modules. You'll also have a named course leader who looks after all the students on your course. And then you'll also have a named academic mentor who is a member of staff who will meet with you regularly to check that you're making progress academically, and you can go to them if you've got any challenges or barriers to your learning, whatever they may be. Whether there's a family issue or your computer breaks down or you're struggling to access to resources, your academic mentor is there as a first port of call. But I've already mentioned the library and academic skills staff, and they're there for specific things. If you want help with how do you start an introduction to an essay, or what do we mean by referencing, we teach them during classes, but if you need additional top-up support, they're available. But the university is also really excellent for the range of other support, and Mitchell will be coming back to talk about international student support specifically, but we have really great pastoral, well-being, disability and financial support. Now, it's fantastic to be studying a degree that you're really passionate about, but let's face it, at the end of your degree, you're going to be thinking about, well, what's the next stage? What are you going to do next? Now, for lots of people, this might be going on to the next stage of qualification as a lawyer. And for many others, it might be looking for other graduate employment. So how do we support your employability skills throughout your degree? Well, in several different ways. First of all, those skills for employability for law are embedded in your subjects that you're studying, but we also embed other employability skills around things like applications, CVs, maintaining an effective LinkedIn presence, all those sorts of things which will allow you to network and to present a really effective and professional view to the world when you start going out there and applying for jobs. There's regular careers fairs in the university, which are fantastic. And we also offer work placements and experiences. Some of them might be through specific modules, the professional placement, professional experience module, for example, but others are more widely available regardless of whether or not you're taking that placement module. So in the past year, we have had students working as volunteers with the Citizens Advice Bureau. We had students just a couple of weeks ago over the Easter break doing a week-long online experience with the Crown Prosecution Service, spending a couple of hours every day exploring cases and how the decision to prosecute is taken, to give them an idea about prosecutorial work in criminal law if they're interested. We've also had law and criminology students doing a paid opportunity. The university supported it. It was just for this year. It may return in the future. We're not sure, but similar opportunities are always coming up, where they worked on a Freedom Law Clinic project looking at a real life criminal appeal case and what's involved. A lot of these opportunities do tend to be criminally focused, but that's not to say that there aren't other opportunities available around the corporate sphere. And we always share them. There's always things like webinars and events that we receive information on, and we will share it with you so that students can enroll. We also have employers visiting us on campus. We have past students who are now practitioners in law who have done something completely different, coming onto campus and talking about their journey into qualification or their journey into a different profession to students. And we also have visits to courts. Some are part of studies and some are arranged as a trip. And we've had some fantastic opportunities. My colleague Aidan Flynn organised an amazing trip to Manchester earlier this year, where the judge could not have been more supportive and helpful, and even offered opportunities for students following that to actually shadow him and his colleagues. So, you know, we give you lots of experiences which will help you understand what the right profession is for you and build the skills for you to access it confidently. As I said, everybody doesn't go into law, and we have students every year who go into a wide range of related or sometimes completely unrelated degrees. A law graduate has a range of skills that transfers incredibly well to a lot of different professions. You go out with verbal and written communication skills, the ability to problem solve, to do research. You've used IT a lot as part of your course, and so it makes you desirable. Somebody with a law degree is a desirable employee. The other areas that people go into are things like police, probation service, teaching, the courts, and other graduate schemes. But just be aware that policing, probation, teaching, these are all depending on how you enter it, these are all potentially graduate entry, which means doing additional qualifications. But nonetheless, you are very well set up for careers in that area if that's what you choose. In fact, some students who have done our law degrees have gone on to do teaching qualifications. One of them is back in our department. He went on to do further qualifications and is now actually a lecturer in our department. And another who graduated just a few years ago now leads the law provision at the college just a mile up the road from us. So hopefully we enthuse people about law, and it's lovely to see students deciding that they want to be the next generation of legal educators. I'm going to hand over to Mitchell now, who's going to tell you a little bit about international recruitment and support. But I'm going to be staying until the end of this session. And so if you've got any questions at that point about actually the degree itself and studying on the degree, then I'll be here to answer those questions for you. But over to Mitchell now.
Thank you so much, Anna, and thank you for the wonderful presentation. I think it was very insightful for the students. I will just quickly provide some information from the international side. I wouldn't take up too much time because when we get to the end, I will sort of mention a few other ways the students can get the information. But just quick welcome. We are here to help you. Like I mentioned, I am the international officer within the international recruitment team, and I've listed our email address on there. So if you have any questions at all after this webinar, you want to have ask any questions, or you haven't joined the webinar and you would like to ask us any questions, please feel free to send us an email at internationalrecruitment@staffs.ac.uk, and our very friendly team would be able to provide you guidance. Just a quick one. So congratulations, you all have your offer. so what happens next? I just want to break that down to you. So you will have an offer to either study LLB Law or LLB Law Accelerated or LLB Law with a foundation year. As Anna has gone through. Now, your offer might be conditional or unconditional. So you need to read your offer properly to ensure that you are getting what the offer says. Now, everyone here would be studying law, so I don't doubt that you would have done this already, because these are the skills that you would need to pick up before, during, and after your law degree. Now, if your offer is unconditional, so that means we're not waiting on anything from you, you can proceed in paying your deposit. If your offer is conditional, that means we're still waiting on a few different things from you. So please make sure you're reading the offer to see if you're waiting on anything from you. That this could be a personal statement or English language proof or anything like that. Now, I will say at this point that if you are waiting for English language evidence from you and you haven't taken an IELTS or any other qualifications, please get in touch with us and we can look into offering you an alternative means of meeting that requirement. Again, if that's for English language, please contact us and we can see if there's any other means of you meeting that requirement. Now, once you've paid the deposit, you can then proceed to precast compliance stages. Now, these are the steps you need to get your CAS. The CAS is the document that you need to apply for your visa. So sort of follow through that way. Now, these steps are the precast interview and the visa finance check. Now, I am running a webinar on these steps tomorrow. So make sure you join this webinar. I will be running it in conjunction with the admissions and compliance team. So it's very tailored towards getting you that information in conducting the interview and passing your visa finance check. So make sure you join in. And as always, if you're unable to join in, you will receive the link. And of course, once you receive your CAS, you can then apply for your visa. Now, just to highlight some of the support that you would receive at the university. Now, Anna has very kindly gone through a lot of the support provided by the law school, but also the university. Now, just to highlight a few, particularly for international students, so you will get a lot of visa support from us. So this is prior to starting at the university. So the process of you actually, conducting your engaging in your precast interview, completing your visa finance check, applying for your visa, we do have support available to you for that. If you need any English language support, again, whilst you're studying, we have an advanced English language team that would assist you with this. And this could be anything from spoken English to academic writing or anywhere in between. And of course, settling into the British culture, understanding events, situations about banking, registering with GP, we would be able to assist you with that as well. Okay, so the university has a wide range of support to ensure that as an international student, you feel welcomed and are able to function and also thrive in the UK. Just to quickly mention as well, we do have accommodation on campus. Now, I am mentioning this because this is a question that we have quite a bit. Now, we do have accommodation on campus. It's very lovely accommodation. We have both ensuite and shared. And by shared, I would like to emphasize that all our campus rooms are single occupancy only. So that means you're never sharing a bedroom with anyone else. However, depending on your preference, you might be sharing a bathroom, facilities and kitchen with other students as well. Okay, so we have the different options available for use on our website, and I have provided our accommodation contact email, which is living@staffs.ac.uk. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact them, or you can contact the international team directly. Okay. Our next steps, just to wrap this up very quickly. So like I mentioned, please check your offer letter and meet the conditions of your offer and pay your deposits as soon as possible. Now, we do emphasize that you do this on time because you don't want a situation where you're unable to meet up with the processes because you have left it till last minute. So it is very important that you are ensuring you're giving yourself enough time to meet all the processes. Now, ensure your contact details are up to date, especially your email, but also your phone number. So if you're not sure, please log into Beacon and check your details, or you can contact us to make sure everything is up to date. Arrange your accommodation. Like I've mentioned, whether it's on campus or off campus, please be sure to arrange it before you arrive, and apply for your visa. Now, keep an eye out for emails from us. So this could be emails from our team inviting you for different webinars, or it could be from the admissions team and progress of your application from this international support team, offering you a range of support, or from the accommodation team as well, responding to your accommodation inquiries. So it is very important that you are looking out for, keeping an eye out for your emails and ensuring that our emails aren't going to spam or being missed. If you think you might have an issue with your emails or not receiving your emails, please make sure to contact us and we would be able to provide you with further assistance. Okay. Now, engage with Campus Connect. Now, on your offer letter, you should have information about Campus Connect on there. Now, Campus Connect is a community where you're able to log in either online or via the app, and you can interact with other students starting at the university in your year, and also staff like myself as well. Now, we have different groups on there. For example, if you join the international group, you're able to interact with all students who are international students starting in your year, and that ranges from all courses, so not just law. So if you have, so it's very important that you do this. Now, you should have received a separate email inviting you to join Campus Connect and sort of going through the steps on how to connect. Essentially, if you go on the website, you would be able to register with your student number. If you have any issues doing this, please contact us. Campus Connect is a very important platform because that's where we also host our webinars. So if you joined our webinar last week, we had the webinar on getting you prepared for the application journey and joining the university. So we had the step-by-step guide on what to do and answering any questions you might have in the application process. Now, tomorrow, like I mentioned, we will be having a webinar on precast interviews and visa finance checks. In future, we will have other webinars like accommodation and also having a live tour of the accommodation. We would have webinars on working at the university, placement options, part-time work and careers, and so many different webinars that you want to join. So it's very important that you join Campus Connect to get involved with all students, but also get involved with us as well. So that's it from me now. I will open this up. So I do have the links on the slides. So it's international recruitment at staffs.ac.uk. If you want to get in touch with us, and our website on there as well. So thank you so much to everyone for joining this session. We'll now open up the floor for any questions that you might have. Feel free to pop them in the chat or unmute your microphone and ask your questions, and Anna and myself would be able to answer. Thank you so much.
Can I just reiterate what Mitchell said about email, especially if you have used your school or college email address as part of the early application process? I can speak on behalf of one of my own children. That was a mistake. Make sure that you change it at this stage to your personal email, or you suddenly realise that you haven't got access to all sorts of information that it's being sent to your old college address or whatever it is. Yeah, don't make that mistake.
Yeah. That's a very good point, Anna. Just whilst you're sort of here, I have a question someone sent in beforehand. So they're asking, a student that's on the foundation year, can they swap to the 2-year accelerated course after foundation year?
No, so that's not a route. The route from the after the foundation year is to go on to the 3-year course. That's because it's part of the same degree course. the entrance requirements for the 2-year course are quite high compared to the other courses, and so we would also need to see a very, very strong performance at level 4, which is the first year of the 3-year course, before we could even contemplate a change. Now, we have in the past, in the May, for very high achieving students on the 3-year course, allowed some to transfer to the 2-year course, but people need to be aware that it means that you finish the exams in the 3rd week of May, and you're literally back 10 days later onto the semester 3.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, the only way that you can sort of shorten it if you start on that 4-year course is, as I say, to complete the foundation year and the level 4, because it's all part of the same degree course. And at that point, very, very high performers, and we do ask for a very high, not just average, but high scores in every single module to consider that. We also counsel students as to whether moving on to that very, very concentrated course is in their best academic interests, because what it means is that when you come back for the final year of your course, you're straight into level 6, which is the final year, and it means that you've only had 2 years to develop academic skills, whereas most people have had 3 years up to that point to get there. So there is a mechanism, but there's no mechanism of going straight from the foundation year onto the 2-year. It would be that you stay on the 4-year course. If you do really well at level 4, which is the 2nd year of the 4-year course, the 1st year of the 3-year course, then there may be the possibility. It's made more complicated for international students, though, because of the visa implications. And so that is a conversation that would have to be had very early on with the course leader, with somebody like Mitchell or somebody else in her team, to see whether with the visa it would work out or not. And I'm not in a position to say it would or not. But generally speaking, if you start on that foundation year, we would expect you to do the full 4 years.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Anna, for clarifying. And I do have another question, and you have touched on this already, but I'll ask the question anyway. Is there any opportunity for work experience or placement within the law course?
Yes, so there's a range really. It's possible on, if I say 2nd or 3rd year, it doesn't work because some people are only on a 2, 3 or 4 year course. But just to explain for everybody here, what we do is we call the foundation year level 3, and then the other 3 years of a degree are level 4, 5 and 6. At level 4, everybody has to go to court and attend a court case. At level 5, there is an optional professional experience module where you get a placement. It's a short placement. It's the equivalent of 2 weeks full time, and you can do that full time in your holidays, or you can choose to do, say, a day a week over a longer period, or work it out however you want. There is a lot of support in the university. There's a placements team, there's a careers team who will help you find something. We are finding that sort of traditional placements in solicitors' firms are becoming increasingly difficult to find, unfortunately, which is why we put a lot of additional experiences in, why we have students doing things like the Freedom Law Clinic or the Coroner's Court experience, or the what else have people done in the last couple of years? Well, those sorts of shorter periods, the CPS, the 2-week CPS thing, which can contribute towards hours for a placement on the placement module, or you can just use it to build your CV. We also have lots of students who volunteer for organisations which are linked in some way to law, like the Citizens Advice Bureau, which is like an access to justice, public justice organisation. And then there's the clinic in the final year, which is a module, but you do actually get the experience of working with real clients who are coming with real legal problems, and you use the same kind of case management software that you would use in practice. We also really encourage students to get involved in opportunities around things like prizes and scholarships. This tends to be more for the bar than it does for people who want to become solicitors. So if you're an aspiring barrister, there's a whole series of different scholarships and prizes. They're very, very competitive. People don't always get them, but we have had students in the past going, and it's been like 3 days work experience in London with a judge or something similar. And there are always events as well that people can go to find out more about it. And I've just seen the message about the CPS. Yes, I'm so sorry. I think you came in after I was talking about it. So the CPS is the Crown Prosecution Service. It's the principal prosecutorial authority in the courts of England and Wales. The police do the investigation, and then the Crown Prosecution Service are the people who make the decisions about prosecution and the people who see the cases through the courts.
Thank you so much, Anna, for explaining that, and with the CPS as well. I think it was quite insightful for the students. I'm hoping they've been able to get something from this. Ooh, yes, Aya, do you want to unmute your microphone and ask your question? We just got one question there.
Hi, hello. I just had a couple of questions. First of all, I just wanted to ask about the work experience and how it meshes in with the 2-year program, just because it is a lot tighter, and I just wanted to know if that is something that is offered, or are they a bit suggested, for you to like stay away from them a tad bit more. And then for with the visas and everything, I just wanted to also ask about how the university conducts their visa checks, and then the GP that, like, are we supposed to figure out the GP on our own, or is there a GP that the university does have pinpointed? Thank you so much.
Shall we do the work experience first, and then talk about the doctors afterwards? So so the work experience module, where there's a placement built in, it would take me a long time to explain the course structure in detail, Aya, unfortunately. All I can say is sometimes it's available to 2-year students, sometimes it's not. It depends what we're running in semester 3 at level 5. And you'll get all that information when you meet your course leader in September, who'll be able to say exactly this is what is running. Now, you're absolutely right that there is an impact on work experience for 2-year students, in that it makes them much less available for something which is called vacation schemes, which is traditionally the route into sort of corporate law firms in the UK. But a vacation scheme is where you basically go off and do a few weeks work experience, and they kind of treat it like an initial job interview for later on. They're very, very competitive, very difficult to get onto, and they clash usually with semester 3 teaching. So that is something to be aware of on the 2-year courses, that external schemes like that are much harder to work into your course, because they assume that students are all free from the beginning of June onwards. They've not quite caught up with the fact that there are a lot of courses which run year round. But in terms of the other opportunities, if they are just voluntary opportunities, they are offered, I will say, to everybody. Some of them may be offered to a particular year group, a particular cohort. So this year we targeted the CPS at final year students, regardless of which degree they were on, because we didn't want them to miss out on that important opportunity before graduation. In other years, we've opened those sorts of things up to everybody. We try and make everything as available as possible. The trips are all available to students on all courses. Trips to places where have we been in the past? We've been to the Senedd, which in Cardiff, which is the Welsh Parliament. We've been to Parliament in London, court trips. We've been to legal museums in England and Wales. We've been to, quite a few places. So we do try and make sure that everything is available to everybody. But you're right, there is a slight trade-off on the 2-year course, which it does reduce your opportunity for those. In terms of whether we encourage people to do it, some of them have application processes. just in fairly informal ones internally, and those are often aimed at ensuring that the people who are taking these additional things on over and above their courses are aware of the time commitment that they're taking on. So with the Freedom Law Clinic, it was quite an intense 6 weeks. People were doing regular sessions with the criminal practitioners every week as part of reviewing this real criminal case. And so we did interview people and said, what is your plan? How are you going to manage this alongside your studies? It becomes a little bit more intense for people on the 2-year course because you're going at that slightly faster pace, but we make sure that we target the right students for the right opportunities. And if somebody on the 2-year course was super keen and said, look, I really want to do this, we would always listen to them and wherever possible offer it to them. So being on the 2-year course doesn't affect what you can get involved on in the university. Does that answer all your questions, Aya?
Yes, that does. But I just wanted to ask like another thing on top of that. For when you said like okay, wait, I'm lagging, give me a sec. When you said that students are made aware of the time commitment and how much they're adding onto their plate, is there any way for them, for example, to like, if there is a, do you guys basically run different groups for different classes and seminars that students could be able to switch around with, or is that not something that is available?
So your timetable is your timetable. If everybody who is on that module, regardless of which course, it doesn't matter which course you're on, if you're enrolled on that module, you're all taught, all mixed up. We don't have classes just for people on the 2-year, except in the summer. We don't have classes which are just for foundation year, apart from the actual foundation year itself. Once everybody gets onto what we call level 4, the groups are all mixed up. Now, that means that there's one large group, a lecture group that everybody's in, and that can't be moved. Once that's on the timetable, it is fixed, because it will be lots of people and a staff member and a room that's big enough. Now, when it comes to your small groups, which are usually between sort of 20, 26 students in a group, it does mean that for core modules, there are multiple workshop groups running. We do try to be flexible if people have very specific needs, and it tends to be about caring responsibilities first and foremost. If somebody says, well, I don't want to be in a 9 o'clock group, like, well, no, we timetable at 9 o'clock. But if somebody says, I can't be there until 9:30 because I have 2 children to drop at school, or whatever it is, or because I have a disability, which means that it's 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock before I feel well enough to come onto campus, we will always try and accommodate that. As far as work is concerned, we try and make sure that any additional opportunities run through the law department are offered at times that they can be accessed by students. So sometimes they fall in vacation times, sometimes they fall on days where we're very careful. Well, this is a level 6 opportunity, and nobody in level 6 has got any classes on a Thursday afternoon, for example, so we run it there. When it comes to paid work, it's often a bit trickier. We will help wherever we can, but the pressures on timetabling in a big university, I'm afraid that sometimes we're not able to always accommodate every request, but it's always worth asking the module leader, look, I've got this opportunity, it will be a Thursday afternoon, could I swap my Thursday afternoon property law class into the Tuesday morning property law class? And assuming we've got space and assuming there's no issues, then we would always say yes to you. We do try and be flexible. We appreciate that people have got a lot of things going on.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I'll just go on to answer the other question, just in the interest of time. You mentioned about, I believe, the requirement for the CAS to get your visa. Now, this would very much depend on your country and your individual circumstances. So your offer letter would say if you're required to undergo a pre-CAS interview and the visa finance check or not, or any other requirement. So the first point of call is your offer letter. Once you've established whether you need that or not, so if your offer letter doesn't say anything about it, then congratulations, you don't need to undergo any further checks. Now, what you need to do is make a deposit payment, and once that's settled, you can then go ahead and receive your CAS. Now, this is all dependent on you having an unconditional offer, like I mentioned previously. So if you don't have an unconditional offer, you need to meet the conditions of your offer first before you can go on to the other stages. But just in the interest of time, what I would say to you is, if you're not sure about any of the sort of the next steps on what you need to do, send us an email and we'll be able to advise you directly. So you should be responding to your offer letter. If you can, that's probably the fastest and the quickest means. So it will be international admissions who would have sent out the offer letter. One moment, just got your message. Let's see what you said. Specifically asking about university conducts their visa checks during the school year. Right, okay. So at the start of every year, I believe you would be required to do a visa check. So you would need to come in person, provide your passport with your visa and list to the International Student Support Team for them to check that you still have a valid visa. So that's usually done on enrollment every year. Otherwise, it would be sort of an ad hoc check. Now, this would be in person with your passport that you'd need to check. I hope that answers your question.
I think, Mitchell, it is just worth mentioning that we do record attendance. We have an electronic registering system, and at the beginning of every class, students are given a code to enter to show that they have attended that class. And we do track attendance, and if any student, whether they're domestic or international, falls below certain levels, then we will follow up. And I know that the requirement for international students is very strict, and Mitchell's team do and there's support people do chase and do offer support to help students re-engage where their attendance has dropped. So there are lots of different ways that we follow up on attendance to make sure that people are attending in accordance with their visa.
I mean, if you have any questions or any issues that potentially would affect your attendance, you'll always, the first point of call is to speak to your module leader, your course leader, Anna, or you can speak to the international support team directly, and we'll be able to provide you guidance or provide some assistance where required. And the next question about the GP. So whilst we don't have a dedicated GP on campus, students are encouraged to register with the local GP in the city. So we do have our introductory class. So when you have our orientation, our introductory orientation sort of shows you and teaches you the processes on registering with the GP. It is important that you do so because any sort of issues that you have, GP would be able to assist you. Now, like I said, the university provide guidance on how to do this through international support, student wellbeing and safeguarding services as well. So the GP practices that's closest to campus is on Ashford Street, which is very close to campus, so just a few minutes walk down. So again, we have that available for students to register. And of course, as an international student, you will be able to access the NHS services as well, which of course is free of charge. So I think that will be all, time permitting. Thank you so much to everyone for both of you that attended the session. Thank you so much. And to everyone else who will be joining us in September and watching this. We hope you've learned something from here and you're able to take these moving forward. Now, if anyone has any questions at all for either Anna or myself, please feel free to reach out to us and we would be able to provide you further assistance. Anna, do you have anything you wanted to add before we?
No, just to say, as you did, Mitchell, that my email is at the start of the slides, at the start of this session. If you do email me, just tell me which course you have applied for, and then I can introduce you to the relevant course leader. So that means that you can make that link in advance, which is an important one. But other than that, no, that's everything. Thank you.
And thank you so much for joining as well. Thank you. Yes, thank you so much, Aya. Thank you to everyone and have a lovely day.